I wish the story could have ended differently, but on Saturday, 7th of December 1991, in the early afternoon, in broad daylight, someone gained entry to Clementina's house. She was found a few hours later, brutally beaten, unconscious. She was taken to the hospital, where she died in the early morning of 9th of December, Monday, without having regained consciousness. Who the murderers has not been found. All of us who knew her are talking about her death, taking the pieces off evidence and reconstructing her story for her. The local papers couldn't get enough of the gruesome tale. They carried descriptions of her ravaged home, photographs of an old woman beaten beyond recognition, speculations as to possible motives. Shock and pain flooded the artistic community. The heinous crime was so unexpected that people have had to stretch their imaginations to come up with possible explanations. Lacking any conclusive evidence, speculation has run wild in Tegucigalpa. Some observers insisted that she had lots of money stashed away in it, and that it was surely a thief. Hadn't the police found the contents of her drawers strewn around her bedroom? But of course, whatever she had was in the bank. She was too smart to leave money in the house. Around the house, she was always so lista, so street smart. Tegucigalpa was her home, and she knew it only too well. Others shake their heads sadly and say, "No, it's a symptom of the times. Too much poverty, too much misery." Had to be some poor beggar desperate for money to feed himself and his family, or more likely a drug addict. There are so many drugs in Tegucigalpa these days. Yes, it was a drug addict. They'll do anything to get a fix, even beat up an old woman. Yet then again, maybe it was politically motivated, although it doesn't seem likely. Yes, Clementina was outspoken in her criticism of politicians, but she was an old lady, no real threat to anyone. Maybe it was one of the local artists or writers. You know how one or another of them was always fighting with her because of some criticism or indiscretion. But so angry as to leave her dying. They found her on the kitchen floor, bones broken in her face. And how did they get in? With the bars of the windows, the bolted doors. Did she open the door? Did she know them? They ransacked her house, but took none of the art. Perhaps they broke in, or perhaps they just made it look like a break-in. Perhaps it was a family member with some old grudge. Curiosity, envy, admiration, affection, and misunderstanding continued to forge the Clementina legend. But she was no longer around to defend herself. Tegucigalpa now has no choice but to gaze into her murder as if in a mirror and see itself. I've tried to make sense of this act of violence. Clementina survived suicide attempts, unwed motherhood, being broke, traveling alone. She was always strong, but who is stronger than Cesar's aggression? She was unique, yet in the end she was treated no differently than other victims of anonymous violence. Death is the great leveler. The moral of the story is not hard to find, yet I resist to accept so ignominious an end for her. She should have died at a party, her own birthday party, perhaps drinking her 7th whiskey and soda and flirting with some young painter, or even in her bed, Queen Clementina journeying to her colorful queendom in the sky from her throne of blue satin pillows. She waged a lifelong battle against mediocrity. Surely her last act, her last gesture was to go out fighting.